Man, I'm feeling real.
Hold on, bitch. Hold on, why you tripping, G? Hold on, I got balls to pick this. No face, hold the coldest shit. Whoa, this that full blown Chernobyl. In my lung when I blow, broken hearts in free smoke. Yeah, wet.
Hi, what is up, people? Welcome back to another video on my channel, and I welcome you to part 3 of my mini-series making a comic page from start to finish. Today we are going to be inking the comic page. So I'm basically gonna show you my process of it, and also we're going to be talking about what mediums to use and how to ink in general. But wait a second, before we jump into this video, make sure to check out my other socials, and also make sure to check out my comic, The Vampire's Curse. You can read it online for free, so make sure to check that out, boy. Alright, so without further ado, let's jump right into the inking process. Jumping right into the inking process, you can see me using Microns. I'm a huge fan of them, but if you're making a comic yourself, you have maybe sketched your first page and you sit there asking yourself, how should I ink my comic? What should I use to ink it? So there's a big variety when it comes to inking your pages. As I've said, I'm using Microns. These are basically regular ink liners, which come in different sizes. But if you're into comics and manga, you have maybe seen artists use G pens before, or some call them dipping pens. You can see the usage of these a lot in manga. A lot of manga artists use these, but also a lot of comic artists, especially back in the days. Of course, you can also use brushes or brush pens, but calm down, Picasso. We're not going to talk about that today. Let's keep it simple. If you want to work with brushes though, do that, man. Let me tell you, you're crazy. If you can do your comic work with brushes or brush pens, I don't think I have to tell you about the basics of inking. So we are definitely gonna be focusing on G pens and Microns today. So just so you know. At first, Microns. Let's talk about the pros and cons of these. So the pros, they're basically pretty easy to use and very beginner friendly. Also, they're relatively cheap. You don't have to spend a lot on them. I think one is like a few bucks, maybe $2. You can get a pack of multiple liners at once, and in my opinion, it's pretty affordable. Also, a huge pro for me is that there's pretty much no smudging when you're using them. Like the ink dries basically instantly. So yeah, that's a big point for me. What are the cons though? A huge negative is you gotta order them on a regular basis, especially if you're using them a lot. So if you have a lot of time to create your comic and you're working a lot with these, you unfortunately gotta order some at a time. Also, what's kinda annoying is you gotta switch pens for different line thicknesses. So you cannot press harder to create thicker lines. You could basically do that a bit, but not too hard because the shit could break. But yeah, that's sometimes, if you got a workflow, a little pain in the ass. So the last con which comes to mind is that for the thinner lines, sometimes the ink may seem not as strong or as concise. Yeah, it's just not as strong, at least it seems like it. Now to the holy G pen. I mean, look at the thing. Beautiful, right? A big pro is the cost of a G pen. You invest for a decent G pen once, which isn't expensive necessarily, and then you're set for a long time. Of course, you gotta buy ink once in a usually long time, but that's basically it. Also, you don't need to switch pens while drawing. With the G pen, you adjust the line thickness by putting more pressure or less. And the last pro is the ink seems thicker and looks cooler. Also, if you do content on social media where you're filming your inking process, it also sounds really satisfying. So that's a pro too. It feels like if you're on TikTok, if you're inking with Microns, it's super boring for the people. But if you put out that G pen and you're inking with that, it's like ASMR and people are going crazy about it. I don't know how to explain it, but maybe you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's also a point. So if you master that, good for you, bro. So let's come to the cons. Since it's fresh ink you gotta use for that, it tends to smudge more, so be careful using it. That of course also means it takes more time to dry, so if you're not using some paper towels or something, carefully. You gotta wait a little while till you can ink further. And also of course it's not that beginner friendly in my opinion. But in the end you gotta make the experiences yourself and find what medium suits you the most and what you're the most comfortable with. But do it for real, make the experiences. Cause we as comic artists are still artists after all. So in the end it's always great to try and become a better artist in a bigger spectrum, if you get what I mean. Alright, so that is the page with the finished inking. I really wanted to bring out the dark atmosphere in this scene, so I went with a lot of heavy ink. It's a really important scene where we find out about the past of our main character. And yeah, I'm really happy how it turned out, I guess. Alright, so that's it for the video. I hope you like it. Thank you so much for watching. We will hopefully see each other in the next one when it comes to coloring this comic page we inked today. Alright guys, take care. Peace. And go read my motherfucking comic. Damn. Damn, what the fuck? Hey, yo, what the fuck? Let me see.